Hello everyone. Welcome to today's Storytime, where we'll learn about the sinister irony of public lobbies and why they're secretly out to crush our spirit and break our resolve. Allow me to set the scene for you. It was your typical day in Andromeda. A kind-hearted linguist decided to make a handful of derelict solo attempts to knock out the dailies. But over time, beneath the onslaught of hacks, uploads, and bullshit, that good-natured linguist slowly descended into madness and became a bitter, blackened soul. A husk of his former self, one might say. But somewhere in the back of his mind, the linguist knew the answer. Stop soloing. Take the power away from the mean-spirited hacks and the foul-mouthed uploads, and take heart in the one hack that had actually been completed in that string of bitter, bitter failure. Better to regroup in a public lobby until such time as the blackness that threatened to consume his heart had receded back to the hell from whence it came. But the public lobby holds a sinisterness all its own. Follow me into the void, if you've the nerve, and behold the evil that dwells in the heart of the public lobby. At a minute and 19 Wave 1 completion, the linguist felt an odd sensation, false hope, born of a deceitful solo's beginning. But he took heart in knowing that soon others would surely arrive and save him from that pit that threatened to consume him yet again. Fate, it seems, had other plans. Devices. A completely manageable solo objective. But again, the linguist did not allow his mind to go there. This is not a solo, he told himself. Others are coming. It's only a matter of time.
Take cover! Shields down!
Enemy tech shut down.
Hydra!
Hang in there, Abe.
Heads up! Shields are out! Take cover!
And as the fourth device fell silent, the linguist felt a familiar pang yet again. The false promise of a potential solo sidling up to his soul. Anger bubbled up within him at that deceit, and woe betide any enemies that ventured into his den for the remainder of that wave. For he vented his fury of past failures upon them as he waited for the companions that would surely arrive at any moment.
Get down! Lost shields!
3 more to go.
Take cover! Hydra!
All clear for now.
But as Wave 2 reached its conclusion in under 4 minutes, the linguist could feel his resolve beginning to waver. Surely others would save him from the temptation of a solo during Wave 3.
Hostiles en route.
Move out! shields are out!
Teammate injured.
Lost shields! Take cover! Shields down! Heads up!
Just 3 hostiles remaining.
One left!
With nary a soul in sight, Wave 3 reached its end at just shy of 3 minutes. And the Linguist felt that cursed lure of temptation taking hold.
Enemies down.
Yet even still, he held on to that last shred of hope that others would come to shoulder that burden and save him from the evil, evil Solo.
Intel shows key enemies
Bosses!
down in that
Ho
area. Don't let
ho!
them leave.
If ever there was a more fitting objective for his fragile state of mind, the Linguist could not think of it.
Hydra on the field!
Thus did he load his weapons with rage and indignation and go to task. As the first target fell and that flak cannon exploded against his temple, the Linguist felt the madness taking control. The Solo was winning. The second target fell like a tumbler within a lock that was quickly failing to safeguard the Linguist's soul.
Take cover! Lost shields! Get down!
Where once the Linguist might have feared the Hydra and its left hand of doom, he stood strong, drunk upon the bloodlust as the last vestiges of his humanity fell away even before the final target met its demise. 1 Hydra?
Well done.
2 Hydras? Ha! 3 Hydras? Let them come.
Shields are out!
The Solo now held sway.
Heads up! Shields are out! One to go!
All clear for now.
This is on the rocks!
As Wave 5 began at under 10 minutes, the Linguist who had begun this public match was no more. In his place stood a greedy, pitiless vessel of rage and determination.
Clear the area!
Thus did the solo continue on.
Hydra on the field! Shields down! Hydra on the field! Lost shields!
Squad member down.
And it was somewhere during this time, as the corpses of fallen enemies threatened to wall him in, that a disembodied voice came to him from the ether. Are you doing a solo? The linguist was taken aback. What sorcery is this? Who dared intrude upon his sacred hunt? A moment later, he described the voice to be that of his sly companion, a good-natured lad who knew well that the normally kindly linguist had a tendency to fall victim to the lure of the solo. And knowing this, the sly one dared not intrude unbidden, lest he too fall victim to the linguist's bloodlust. The linguist appreciated this. The sly one was indeed as keen as his name belied. But on his heels came a duo of untested noobs, the first of whom flew right through the lobby as though it were greased with the blood of the linguist's fallen foes, materializing upon the entrance of those hallowed grounds with not so much as a how do you do. The fury bubbled within the linguist's soul, and he thought back to the lessons a wise and powerful dragon had once taught him on how to deal with such an interloper. Sensing this, the linguist's sly companion leapt to action, if not to save the hapless intruder from their own folly, then to save the linguist from whatever fate such a train of thought might have led him to. As the first of the duo dared to set foot in his domain, the linguist thought to himself, I shall call you whatever I like, as I step over your corpse.
Squad member down.
Help's on the way!
As Wave 6 began, the linguist spared the first interloper not a moment's thought, for his next objective was about to spawn. But it was then that he sensed the coming of the second of the pair, another scallywag with thoughts above their station. A retrieval! The simplest of objectives, favored by linguists the world over as the true, unabashed cakewalk. A trio of perfect objectives, a solo that well might have been. No matter. He would not allow the others to steal his glory. Thus did he set about his good work, ignoring his sly companion, who walked a dangerous line, cloaking him more than once as though he had any need to fear their enemies. But the sly one escaped his retribution, as the linguist reminded himself that he hadn't entered this hallowed ground with ill intent, but rather an altruistic heart to protect those who had unknowingly intruded upon glory in the making. And as the linguist approached the third device, he both noted and appreciated his sly companion as he bypassed the device entirely, knowing full well to whom it truly belonged. But the second of the interlopers, the red one, lacked such wisdom. The linguist knew well the provenance of this one's moniker, but such horror as that event had beget would pale in stark contrast to the linguist's machinations as this foolish pretender dared to take his final retrieval. Thus did the linguist return to his lair, wherein his mind went to a truly dark place, and he smote one of the interlopers with naught but the strength of his ire. Fitting, he thought. For the remainder of the wave, as the linguist laid waste to hydras and ascendants alike, he imagined a world of friendly fire, where his retribution would be swift. With Wave 6 drawing to a close, the linguist did abscond to the perch overlooking the breadth of a domain that ought to have been his and his alone, if not for the treachery of the public lobby. Thus did he abandon the interlopers to their fates. And it was then, as he reveled in their folly and misery, that he noted the clock, ever ticking forward. Not only had the public lobby taunted him with a completable solo that was not a solo, but it had stooped to far greater depths of torment, with what could have been a sub-20 solo, had the enemies gone dutifully to their demise, rather than spreading out and repeatedly murdering the unschooled interlopers. In the end, the sly companion sought out that lofty hideaway, and while the linguist thought he'd come to revel in the demise of the duo, he had in fact come to plead their case, even going so far as to defend them, in an effort to remind the linguist of why he had ventured to the public lobby in the first place, to be part of a team. A team, scoffed the linguist. You've much to learn, sly one. Much to learn indeed. Thus did the two bear witness as the duo beneath them scurried about like ants in a desperate bid for survival. It was then, as the first of the intruders fell for the umpteenth time, that the sly companion did leap to his aid, putting himself in what might have been mortal peril in the process. But in doing so, it was he who reminded the linguist of what he'd forgotten, of what he'd once been. before the public lobby, before the dark times, before the solos. Thus did a linguist buried within the dead, blackened heart struggle to the surface and take action. For he could now see his own folly. His hubris had allowed him to fall victim to the public lobby's sinister intent. Not unlike the two so-called intruders, whose only crime was joyfully joining an open platinum match as the public lobby had planned all along. 'Twas a truly cunning plot, to be sure, one that had nearly succeeded. When at last the four emerged from the derelict wreck, the crucible, if you will, they continued on as though nothing had happened at all, each one of them understanding the unspoken accord to never again discuss the darkness that had brought them together and very nearly consumed them all. Perhaps, with the telling of the next tale, if the linguist's heart remains true, he may well find the solo of solos and the glory he so desires. Until such time, thanks for watching.